Once you have identified all relevant factors at each level of the system, it is important to ensure that factors are linked together appropriately to demonstrate their causal impact on each other and the cluster of adverse events under review. Check that the pre-populated links already in the AXIMAP are accurate, and add any new links you consider necessary by using the linking tool found in the top right corner. For example, we might link policies at the government, regulators and external influencers level to culture at both the organisation governance and administration and operations management levels. We might also link the design and suitability of various pieces of equipment at the equipment and surroundings level to the staff awkward postures timeline event. Continue linking factors as necessary. Now that you have identified the factors contributing to the cluster of incidents at the 5 levels of the system, you should identify key issues. When identifying key issues, it can be useful to think about the better risk controls you recommended when identifying factors in the AXIMAP. Key issues link together contributing factors identified across different system levels and can be best illustrated on the AXIMAP using colours. To add a key issue, simply click the Add Key Issue button or the plus icon. Add a summary and description of the key issue and select a colour to tag the key issue with. For example, we might identify a key issue around the culture and attitudes held in the midwifery and broader healthcare sector that encourage staff to prioritise patient safety and underreport staff injuries. You can tag factors across the 5 system levels with the same colour as the key issue. To do so, click the tag icon in the top right corner, select the key issue you are interested in, and then select the factors across the 5 system levels that are related to that key issue. For example, we might suggest that the culture and patient expectations factors at the frontline level, culture at the operations management level, culture and priorities at the organisation governance level, and policies at the government, regulators and external level contribute to this key issue. To continue adding key issues to the AXIMAP, click the plus icon and follow the same process. For example, we might identify another key issue around the design and suitability of equipment for supporting staff safety, based on our recommendation for purchasing new best practice equipment. We might link workspace setup and design and suitability at the equipment and surroundings level, postures and people handling at the frontline level, equipment management at the operations management level, and guidelines at the government, regulators and external influencers level to this key issue. Continue adding key issues as necessary. Now your AXIMAP is finished and you have a complete picture of the cluster of incidents and the factors that contributed to them. This AXIMAP will help you in developing an action plan. To move to the next stage of the cluster review, click Continue to Actions. Now you have progressed to the action stage of the cluster review. This stage focuses on developing an action plan to prevent similar incidents or clusters of incidents from occurring in the future. Follow the same process you used to develop actions for a cluster review as you would for an individual incident review. To develop an action for a key issue, select Create Action. In developing an action, the STIR app will prompt you to specify the type of action. For example, we might specify an internal rather than an external action. The specific action required. For example, we might propose that new birthing beds be purchased to reduce awkward postures. The person responsible for the action. For example, we may put forward the manager of the birth centre. The contributing factor most aligned with the action. For example, we may select design and suitability of birthing beds as the most aligned factor, and the risk control. This provides an indication of the level of protection the action will provide. For example, purchasing new birthing beds may be considered to reduce the risk by changing the way that work is done. Continue adding actions that address the key issues by clicking Create Action. For example, we may suggest actions such as the purchase of wireless fetal heart rate monitors and the inclusion of patient handling tasks and equipment in care planning to better identify high-risk scenarios. Actions like this aim to reduce or eliminate the risk. Continue adding actions to your action plan until the key issues have been addressed. Once you have developed an action plan, you will be prompted to finalize it by specifying the urgency of the action and how successful implementation of the action will be evaluated. To finalize each action of the action plan, click the pen icon. For example, we might finalize the purchase of new birthing beds by suggesting that this is of moderate urgency and that the success of this action will be evaluated by the development of a business case for approval. Follow the same procedure to finalize all actions in your action plan. Now select the actions you believe are feasible and practicable to include in the final action plan. Select Create Action Plan and provide a brief summary of the action plan. For example, this action plan aims to reduce injuries due to awkward and sustained posture in the birth centre by reducing the risk by changing the way work is done and through administrative controls. Now you have completed a cluster review and successfully developed an action plan.